Hey y'all, overused joke here. At the end of most things, there was a climax. At the end of my hospital stay from eating my phone, they gave me a lollipop. At the end of most years, we had Christmas. I say most because who knows what it was like before the year zero. At the end of 2019, I was a little delayed as I had to look throughout the next year. Starts with C, ends with Ovid. But I have one example of something that doesn't end with a climax, and that is people dying of old age. They just go to sleep and then boom, roll credits. So I'm gonna try and make someone else's life end with a climax. By having a knife go through their chest. At the end of every season of Scott the Was, he has uploaded what I shall call an end of season special, or 50 or 100 episode specials. Every 50 episodes he uploads a Christmas special. Every 100 episodes he uploads another special. But it's not themed around any holiday. This is, from what we know at least. Let's cover the story of each of these specials, as well as some episodes that key into the stories as well, beginning with a very Man No 8 Christmas. This episode focuses on Scott attending a Vegans Anonymous gathering, before the members find out he snuck in milk. The vegans feel betrayed by this, so Scott tells them about Man No 8, his favourite game. After Scott tells/reviews it, the vegans drop a bombshell, saying they prefer other Madden games than Man No 8. One of them even exclaiming,
"Holy shit, is that Man No 9?
when Boomer brings in a copy of Man No 9. Scott then appropriately freaks out in such an iconic scene. He then leaves, going to Target and stealing all the copies of Madden 18 out of spite, before being diagnosed with an appropriately named illness. He then has to learn how others can love Madden games outside of Madden 08. We're introduced to a cop, a certain Wendy's employee, and some other crap that would take too long to talk about. That was the episode in an extremely brief summary though. There are still many scenes in the episode that I didn't mention, but I feel that is all the important info for now. After It's Awesome Baby, which I'll get to later, we focus back on the characters introduced in A Very Man No 8 Christmas. Aside from that episode, the following episodes also key into the story and characters. Game Stores, the 95 episode special, Homecoming, simply another episode in the timeline, The Great Mysteries of Gaming, the 140 episode special as well as the Halloween special, A Bargain Bin Christmas, quite obviously Christmas special, and The Trial, simply another episode in the series, but not themed around any specific video game topic. In Game Stores, we're introduced to Chet Shaft, an employee at the store, Games on a Shelf. Scott then runs the store out of business, and Chet Shaft is kind of a little bit very much annoyed. Now, I'm going to be covering these special episodes in chronological order, so just be aware that the characters in this aren't confirmed to be the same as Man No 8 Christmas. Now, on to the episode. It's Awesome Baby begins with Scott singing about how there's a man for everybody, emphasizing the point made by Wendy's employee a year ago. After raving about Madden, it turns out a person who believes Dick Vitale's Awesome Baby Call of Troops is the best sport game was watching, and now wants others to see his belief as well. He travels back in time and makes Call of Troops the only sport game that can be played. Scott, now in a timeline that believes in Call of Troops being the only sports game, who was immune to the timeline changing because he was playing the game at the time, decides to stand up for what he believes in. So he stands up to this leader and ends up reverting the timeline. But long story short, Man No 8 was lost in the process due to him sacrificing it to defeat the robot. But when he arrives back, he wins a contest and gets to pick whatever game he wants to be made. He quite obviously asked for a game named Man No 8 to be made. Again, extremely brief summary, but keeps a lot of the important bits. But there is a whole other part of the story involving the YouTuber Relax, but I think I'll save that for another time. Also, just an extra fun fact, I share a birthday with Dick Vitale. Later, Scott decided to hold a school dance, missing the school part, and invited a chaperone for it. Cut a long story short, school dance shuts down, and the character of the chaperone appears 4 episodes later. Now, on to the Great Mysteries of Gaming, and Scott is invited to a dinner party held by Chet Shaft, the guy from the game store he used to work at, who invited a bunch of people Scott just so happened to know from A Very Man No 8 Christmas and Homecoming, which introduced the chaperone, now known as Rex Mose. Now, they are all introduced to each other, and they begin eating dinner. But then the lights dim, and Chet Shaft's body is found dead. At least Chet Shaft had an eventful end to his life. Everybody then begins thinking about who might be the killer, and it sure takes them a while to suss anyone. They split up and begin searching the building, while Scott talks about mysteries and gaming history with the CD player. After they search the building for a while, slowly getting killed one by one, Scott becomes the last one alive and confronts the murderer, who ends up being none other than Officer Steelwool, the police officer from Man No 8 Christmas. They battle a bit, Scott gives in the Madden curse, and Scott ends up winning. Everyone who died gets treated for murder at the hospital, and everyone lives happily ever after. Or do they? Fast forward to Christmas, and Scott just loves spending money, so much so he becomes broke. He goes to the bank and asks to see if he has any money left. They confirm that he is cashless, but tell him if he can do 50 hours of charitable work in the name of the bank, they can help him out. He then sells his desk to fund the charity work, so he starts an event in the name of the bank and helping fund the charity Foundation for Recent Murderees. When he finally starts it up, everyone who turns up went to Chet Shaft's dinner party and were murdered. The whole gang, with an obvious exception being Steel Wool. Scott tries to make their visit worthwhile by giving them bargain bin games, but they all tell Scott how bad he is for giving them worthless games. Rex Mose then gets overhydrated and Scott leaves out of frustration. The ghost of Chet Shaft then appears, or as he calls himself,
It is I, the ghost of Christmas Shaft.
he shows Scott the person who bought his desk and shows him how he made that person happy. Scott, now with determination, returns to the event. Outside, he hears some inspiring words from a mysterious voice. He doesn't know who it was, but thanks them anyway. He goes inside and tells everybody how sorry he is. They forgive him and tell him that they were a little hard on him, and that they could always use their bargain bin games. The mysterious voice from before now reveals himself as Vince Young, the person on the box art of Madden 08. Scott returns home and receives a gift from Chet Shaft and Vince Young, a new desk, just like the old one. Scott thanks them, and the credits roll. Scott then, alongside the therapist, formerly a news reporter from Madden 08 Christmas, Jeb Jab, and Rex Mose play through 3 terrible Nintendo games. This doesn't end up amounting to much in the main story, but it's something that could be necessary later. Fast forward to later that year, and they have a court case on the murder at Chet Shaft's dinner party. If I try and describe the episode, it won't seem as good, so just go watch it, because it's a treat to watch. At the end, Steel Wool ends up confessing under a threat, saying, "I did it," before he is sentenced to death, and Scott, back at home, now says for the ending gag,
I don't think he did it.
This means there could be more to the story, but I don't feel that this will be covered in the 200th episode, but maybe later. Now that we've taken a look at the previous end of season specials, what could it be at the end of the 4th season? Well, I think it's important we analyse and point out some other trends and patterns that occur throughout the Scott the Woz series. I should point out this is based on what we have so far, but Scott does seem to like to use patterns, so these may help us in the future. Every season that leads up to a 100 episode special has a mini arc or story within it. In season 2, it was the WiiWare Chronicles. In season 4, it was the Dark Age of Nintendo. This theory is a little far-fetched and could just be chalked up to coincidence, as there are some things that stand out between these series, but it's a pattern I noticed nonetheless. Another pattern might be the themes of these episodes. The first 2 specials were on individual games, but the latest one was on a general gaming topic. This could mean the 200 episode special topic isn't in fact a game, but a topic like the bargain bin in the last one. Another possible pattern would be how Madden is used. In Madden 08 Christmas, Scott receives a DS copy of Madden 08, and generally reviews all versions of the game. In It's Awesome Baby, he talks about how there are Maddens for everybody, and in Bargain Bin Christmas, he completes his Madden 08 collection. A trilogy of episodes formed around Madden 08, so I have a theory that episode 200 won't have many Madden references, unless Scott pulls a Toy Story 4 on us. Another pattern would include the character inclusions, as Madden 08 Christmas and Bargain Bin Christmas include Terry Lesler, Jeb Jab, etc. And It's Awesome Baby included other characters which aren't named, though the wiki says their names are simply their actors' names. The fact that this pattern exists makes me think that these characters may possibly return for episode 200. Another factor may be that Relax Alax appeared as the Supreme Leader, meaning he may return, or that Scott will get another popular YouTuber or content creator to star in it. No, Connor Eats Pants doesn't count. Jax Films did respond to a tweet he put out about it, and he has asked for several animators of all kinds to help him out, so we should have an epic episode on our hands in the coming days/weeks. Now, another theory that I think makes a decent bit of sense is that the villain might be Dr. Anna May from Anime Games, or something to do with anime. It was the first episode of season 4, and it felt sort of odd to open the season with that. So maybe Dr. Anime will return in episode 200 and team up with the Supreme Leader and travel back in time to make an anime version of Dick Vitale's Awesome Baby College Hoops, and make anime the only forms of media beside College Hoops, which could be the only video game ever! Relax Alax has shown that he likes anime, so there is a chance. Another, albeit wild theory, would be to do with Back to the Future. Scott said in a podcast episode he was on that his favourite movie of all time was Back to the Future 2. It's Awesome Baby involved time travel, so what if, this time, it's played out like many scenes from Back to the Future 2, where we see events from the previous movie/episode take place, while focusing on the present-day versions of these characters. It's a wild theory to be sure, but it's a thought that popped into my head while writing the script for this video. Now, a lot of the theories that I've mentioned don't overlap with each other, so it's possible I'm right on all of this, or maybe I'm wrong about all of this, who knows. Okay, I think that about wraps up that topic. Scott's best content is definitely when he has his friends help him out and play other characters. I should know, I watched it. One of his great climaxes was It's Awesome Baby. Apparently he was also a climax buff at one point. And my best climax was my attempt to murder a stranger on the street. He called the cops on me. Hey guys, you might be wondering why I'm talking over the outro, but basically, while I was creating this video, Scott basically said that on his community tab on YouTube that he won't be doing 200 episodes this season. He said there's only 3 more episodes this season, and if you do the maths, which is not very hard maths, then that adds up to 195 episodes and not 200 episodes. So I just wanted to update you on that, because it was during the editing of this video and I was not going back and re-recording like everything just so that I could, anyways. I was not going back and re-recording it just to replace it all with 195 and not 200. Anyways, just bye.